Hi, I'm Nick May from Walls by Design, and today we're going to talk about a question we get quite a bit, and that is brushing or spraying our cabinet boxes. Which should I do? Now, we have forever and a day, we have brush and rolled the boxes and sprayed only the doors and drawer faces. Well, actually, both sides of the drawer faces, but the doors and drawers have all been sprayed since we started this whole process of painting cabinets. But in the beginning, we only offered brushing and rolling the boxes. And before I get into the differences, because there are positives and negatives to both ways of doing those boxes, but let me first talk about why, when we first started, did we only do rolling and brushing of the boxes. And that was because when we first started this, I knew that most people that wanted to paint their cabinets were doing it because it was a cost savings option for them to not replace their cabinets. And that is probably one of the biggest reasons why people, want to paint. They want an updated look, but they don't want to spend $30,000, $50,000 to replace all their cabinets. And there's another video that we have about, when should you and when should you not paint. We talk about some of those options. But early on, I knew it was a cost savings thing. And so we wanted to come up with a system that was very, very efficient. And so we needed to do something that was, very, very cost effective. And so it wasn't even close for people to paint versus replace the cabinets. And so I think, our average kitchen is probably about $4,700 now. And to replace those cabinets, not talking about the countertop and the black splash and all that yada yada stuff, but you're probably talking $4,500 versus $10,000 or $15,000. And so that's why when we first started, we just did the brushing and rolling. And the reason why it is less expensive to do that is because we spend probably 3 or 4 hours having to prep the kitchen for brushing and rolling. Mainly, it's just like painting anything else. We have to protect anything that paint can fall on. But if we're spraying those cabinets, we have to cover everything. It's a very tedious process to cover the ceilings and the walls, the insides of the cabinets. Anything you don't want paint on, you literally have to cover with plastic or paper and tape. So that's the big difference in why spraying costs so much more than painting. The time it takes to brush and roll versus spraying is pretty close. That is kind of almost negligible, but it's all in the prep. So now I want to talk about what are the differences between spraying and brushing and rolling. Let's first talk about brush and roll. So there are some positives and some negatives. The positive is it's inexpensive, so it's more inexpensive, and it takes less time. More inexpensive because it takes less time, right? That's the big positive, brushing and rolling. One more positive, you can continue to use your kitchen throughout the process. So if we're there for 5 days, you can use the kitchen each night. Now, probably we don't want you in there while we're in there, making lunch and doing different things in the kitchen. But in the evening when we're not there, you are free to use the kitchen as best you can. You're probably not going to have a dinner party, but you can at least make dinner in the kitchen. Now, the negatives for the brush and roll is just the fact that you are going to have two different finishes, slight finish difference between the doors and drawers and the boxes. You are going to see a very slight texture difference between the two surfaces. Okay, and that's pretty much it. But I will tell you, in the first 10, probably 9 years, we didn't spray any boxes at all. And maybe over the course of that period of time, we only had maybe 6 families that came to us after the fact and said, hey, I don't really love the way, the differences between this. And then we just talked to them about how we reminded them and told them that there was going to be a finish difference between the two. But we also kind of identified that there is kind of a certain house price or quality of kitchen that we see that is typically going to be more suited for spraying. And that's if someone has had high-end cabinets and they had a factory finish on those cabinets, they're used to that. And then a lot of times if people are in a $2 or $3 million house, a lot of times that's when we have more of those discussions of spraying those cabinets versus brushing and rolling. Now, on the brush and on the spraying side of things, there are also positives and negatives. So let's talk about that. So on the positive side, all of your finish detail or the surface finish is going to match. The doors, the drawers, and the boxes are all going to look very, very similar. You're not going to be able to detect a difference between the finish that we apply on the doors versus on the cabinets. The downside, because there's downside, it's more expensive and it takes longer, and you cannot use your kitchen at all whatsoever once we tent off that kitchen, because we have to encapsulate that kitchen. So once we have that tent up, you cannot use the kitchen at all because it breaks the seal, and then we've got to we would have to re-secure everything if you go in there. Those are the big downsides. And when I'm talking price, if you have a $5,000 kitchen to do brushing and rolling of the boxes along with spraying of the cabinet doors, then your spray cost to do that same kitchen is roughly going to be an additional $2,500 to $3,000. That's just kind of an average. There are some different things that come into play. How big is the room? How big are the ceilings? That's a big factor. How easy is it for us to tent off that room? So those are kind of the pluses and minuses. And ultimately, it's up to you. We will do whatever you want us to do to achieve the look that you want us to achieve. Those are the differences. If you've got questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. I'm Nick May with Walls by Design. Thanks for tuning in.